Every day, millions of truck drivers wake up before the sun and hit the road. They travel across states, through deserts, over icy mountain passes, and into crowded cityscapes, delivering everything from food to fuel. And many of them are driving straight into danger, without ever realizing it. Because hidden behind the rhythm of the highway is a dark reality. Some roads are designed to kill, not by intention, not on purpose, but through a lethal mix of geography, weather, politics, and negligence. Today, we're going to reveal one of the most dangerous highways for truckers in all of America. A road where lives are lost every year, and most people still drive through it thinking, "It won't happen to me," but it could. Before we go further, if you're a truck driver, know someone who drives for a living, or you just care about road safety, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. You might think it's just a small gesture, but you never know who needs to hear this story. Because the road you're about to see, it looks ordinary, but for truckers, it's a death trap. Let's begin. Stretching from San Francisco to New York City, Interstate 80 is one of America's great arteries, a symbol of coast-to-coast connection and economic power. But in the heart of Wyoming, this very road turns deadly. Locals and long-haul drivers have another name for this stretch: the Death Corridor. At first glance, it's just another highway. 2 lanes in each direction, open landscapes, clear signage. But the real danger hides in the altitude, the wind, and the weather. A deadly trio that can turn a routine delivery into a life-threatening gamble. The I-80 climbs to elevations over 8,000 feet, passing through the Red Desert and the Laramie Mountains. At that height, weather can change in seconds. 1 minute, the sky is clear. The next, you're caught in a whiteout snowstorm with visibility near zero. And the wind? It's relentless. Crosswinds often exceed 70 miles per hour, enough to tip a fully loaded semi-truck even when the roads are dry. Truck driver Jason Mitchell recalls one terrifying night. "I checked the weather before I left Salt Lake. Clear skies. But 30 minutes outside Rawlins, a wind gust caught my trailer like a sail. I thought it was over. That stretch? I-80 owns the sky, and it decides who gets through." He's not alone. According to the Wyoming Highway Patrol, over 100 semi-truck rollovers were reported on I-80 in just one recent winter season. That's not counting the hundreds of multi-vehicle pileups triggered by black ice or snow squalls. One of the most horrifying incidents occurred in February 2020, when more than 100 vehicles were involved in a chain reaction crash near Wamsutter. Visibility had dropped to almost nothing due to a sudden snowburst. 3 people died. Dozens were injured. Emergency crews struggled to reach the scene as the storm kept raging for hours. So why does this road stay open? Because it's essential. I-80 is a freight superhighway, moving more than 6% of all U.S. trucked goods. Shutting it down costs millions of dollars per day. So instead, officials issue high-wind advisories, post electronic warnings, and rely on truckers to make their own call, often under pressure to meet deadlines. And while many trucking companies equip their drivers with weather apps and GPS rerouting tools, the truth is, sometimes you just have no choice. You roll the dice and go. Veteran driver Maria Thompson puts it bluntly. I-80 in Wyoming? It's not a road, it's a test, and not everyone passes. Despite growing awareness and calls for safety improvements, like more windbreaks, better rest stops, or stricter closures, the corridor remains open, year-round. And every winter, new names are added to the list of those who didn't make it through. But while the open wilderness of Wyoming's I-80 is feared by truckers across the country, the most dangerous highway might actually be hiding somewhere else. Somewhere far more familiar. Somewhere you might be driving every day. If the I-80 in Wyoming is a deadly monster you can see coming from miles away, the I-95 on the East Coast is the killer hiding in plain sight. Spanning over 1,900 miles from Miami, Florida, to Holton, Maine, the I-95 is the busiest highway in the United States. It cuts through major cities, Miami, Jacksonville, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and carries more than 250,000 vehicles per day in some segments. And with that volume comes chaos. For truckers, it's not just traffic. It's constant unpredictability. Cars weaving across lanes, construction zones with no warning, sudden stops in high-speed areas, narrow shoulders with no escape route. Unlike the icy mountains of Wyoming, here the threat isn't nature. It's human behavior. Driver fatigue, aggressive commuters, impatient delivery vans, all packed into an infrastructure that was never built to handle this much movement. In 2023, a fuel tanker exploded on the I-95 in Philadelphia, collapsing an entire overpass. It shut down a critical section of the highway for weeks, impacting not just freight, but millions of daily drivers. And that was just one incident. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the I-95 corridor has one of the highest fatal crash rates per mile in the entire country. The stretch between Miami and Jacksonville alone records dozens of truck-involved fatalities every single year. Veteran trucker Carl Newton explains, "You're driving an 80,000-pound rig, and some guy in a Honda Civic cuts right in front of you doing 85. What am I supposed to do? Evaporate. I've got 4 seconds to react, or it's over." The danger of I-95 isn't just the number of vehicles, it's how people behave on it. There's no margin for error. And unlike open stretches of road, there's nowhere to go when something goes wrong. Then there's the psychological pressure. You're crawling at 10 miles per hour for 3 hours straight through D.C. Then suddenly, it opens up, and everyone hits 80. The shift messes with your focus. Your nerves are shot. That's when mistakes happen. And the mistakes are rarely small. Even experienced drivers admit, "I feel more fear on the I-95 than anywhere else." But perhaps the most dangerous thing about I-95 is how ordinary it feels. It looks like any other highway. People use it for everyday commutes, family vacations, moving furniture, and that's exactly why it's so lethal. It lulls drivers into a false sense of control. Because here, the danger isn't obvious. It's disguised as routine, and by the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. 2 roads, 2 different landscapes, one carved through the wind-blasted mountains of Wyoming, the other woven through America's most crowded cities. But both share the same brutal truth. They weren't built to keep you alive. Whether it's the unpredictable wrath of nature or the constant pressure of urban traffic, highways like I-80 and I-95 demand more than just skill. They demand awareness, discipline, and respect. And yet, every year, drivers underestimate them. They trust the routine. They ignore the signs. They think, "I've driven this 100 times. I'll be fine." But the road doesn't care how many years you've been behind the wheel. It only takes one mistake, one moment, 1 mile. So, if you're a driver, whether in a semi-truck or a family SUV, stay alert. Use weather apps, plan your route, respect your limits, and most of all, never assume you're safe just because the road looks familiar. Because the most dangerous highways in America aren't just the ones you've never heard of. They're the ones you're already driving.